Welcome to the Master Dad Podcast. I created this podcast to let each and every one of you know that you are not as bad as you think you are. Society wants you to believe that each and every one of you are racist, bigoted, and just plain evil. I want you to know that you, in fact, are not. With that being said, grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get to it. There are three types of people in this world: wolves, sheep, and sheepdogs. Sheep are the people who can go with the herd, keep their heads down, and although can be loud at times, are usually pretty calm. They are good to have around. Wolves are those who feed on the sheep. They keep taking and taking until there's nothing left. They are not good to have around. And then you have sheepdogs. They will protect the sheep. They stand against the wolves and will fight them to the bitter end. They are feared by the sheep, and the sheep do not realize that the sheepdogs are there to protect them. To the sheep, sheepdogs look the same as wolves, and nothing could be further from the truth. These are necessary to have around. I know that everyone has heard the saying, "Beware the wolf in sheep's clothing," but where does it come from? Originally, it harkens back to Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. It warns Christians to be aware of false prophets that will come and attempt to pull people away from Jesus' true teaching. Today, however, I think the meaning of this word has changed a little. I believe this saying warns people to pay attention to those around you and be guarded against those who wish to do you harm. Let me go on record that I hold no ill will towards those who wish to act as sheep. They have a herd mentality, and I believe that they really do try to protect the herd. The problem is that it is almost impossible to protect the herd with a herd-like mentality. You have to have someone who acts like a wolf to protect you. You have to have someone in place who can think like a wolf but does not act like a wolf. You have to have someone in place that can stand against the wolf when they are hungry. Let's talk about the social behavior of these three groups. Wolves are everywhere. Wolves are very intelligent. They will always use violence to prey on the sheep. They also have a hierarchy among themselves. Sheep are a prey species. Their defense is usually to flee. Sheep have an instinct to bond with other sheep. The flock mentality protects them from predators and usually have a follow-the-leader mentality. Sheepdogs are protective and somewhat aggressive. They are prepared to make a stand against others who would do harm. When not in a time of crisis, they are gentle and trustworthy. Now, in cases where a gun was used in a self-defense manner, most criminals who were shot will tend to not go to the hospital. If they do go, then they usually tell the hospital staff that the gunshot was either self-inflicted or an accident. This is done in an attempt to prevent law enforcement involvement. The way to stop gun violence is not through firearm restriction, but rather through education for the sheep and through love for the wolves. Let's go over firearm education first. There are a lot of different places that one can go to and learn about firearm safety. A gun range typically has a range safety officer who will be happy to teach you about firearms. Go there and learn what having a firearm is all about. You will learn that most people are not out there to learn how to go on a killing spree. Actually, they are there for the same reason that you would be going, to learn how to safely handle a weapon. Your local law enforcement office. I would be willing to bet that if you went to your local law enforcement office, that they would be willing to point you in the right direction. It is a lot better for a law enforcement official to teach others the correct use of a firearm than it is to have to react to an unfortunate situation. The NRA, or National Rifle Association, would love to teach people about firearm safety. If you give them a call, then I believe that they would be willing to provide you with a contact to assist you with learning about firearms. They actually have a toll-free number, 1-800-672-3888. Let's talk about love now. The love that I'm talking about is the love for your fellow man. As you guys probably know, I'm a big fan of threes, and this is no different. Love of friends and family, love of our fellow man, and a love of God. Let's discuss love of friends and family. Mankind can be very self-centered. They typically do things without any regard for anyone else. In the heat of the moment, and the trigger is pulled, do you think that the person behind the trigger is thinking about how this action will affect their family? What about the person on the other side of the weapon? Do you think that the person who is pulling the trigger has any thoughts on the future in that moment? Love is the strongest emotion in existence. What about our fellow man? Are you thinking about the family that you are denying a loved one? Why are you escalating to a weapon? This goes for everyone in all walks of life. Have you even stopped and talked to the person? A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the butterfly effect. If you pull the trigger, how will that affect the family for generations? Here in my state, and I'm sure around the world, there was a little girl who was shot in a gun altercation. That little girl was 6. She was an innocent. What if that little girl would have grown up and one day found the cure to all of the cancers in the world? Someone just took that away from mankind. Think about that. And finally, love of God. God states in Exodus 21:12-14, "Anyone who strikes a man and kills him shall surely be put to death. However, if he does not do it intentionally, but God lets it happen, he is to flee to a place I will designate. But if a man schemes and kills another man deliberately, take him away from my altar and put him to death." God states plainly that murderers should be put to death. I know, I hear you. You say, "But Alan, what does the Bible say about self-defense?" Well, I have an answer for you. We see in Scripture that a person is allowed to defend him or herself from an attacker. Exodus 22 reads, "If a thief is found breaking in and is struck so that he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him. But if the sun has risen on him, there shall be blood guilt for him." So even after the 10 Commandments are given in Exodus 20, we can see that God permits the taking of a life if one's own life is in potential danger. If a thief broke into a house at night, he would have to fear the homeowner, who would not be able to determine an intruder's intentions, whether theft of property or harm to the occupants. The homeowner would not be at fault for killing the thief by beating him to death. Notice, however, that even the thief's life was valued. If a thief broke in during the daytime when his intentions would be clear and were killed by the homeowner, then the owner would be guilty of murder. While reasonable self-defense is recognized in Scripture, value for human life is the rule. The point that I'm trying to make for this entire video is this: value human life. It is the most precious thing in existence. The sheepdogs know this, but yet will continue to stand against the wolves. Thank you for listening to the Master Dad podcast. If you liked this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe. And please click the notification bell to be alerted when I upload a new video. And remember, don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive.